last month's meeting, I was each like ours. The one I went to was in Auckland, South Auckland Woodturners Guild, and they meet once a week on Wednesdays, and they have demonstrators. So can you imagine what kind of a deal that is, guys? Trying to line up with this. But if I can, I will show you some pictures. Oh, let's see, how's this? Can I focus here somehow? Tell me how this works, John. It says South Auckland Woodturners Guild. That's the front of their building. Okay, they have buildings all to themselves. The city council provided this building for them. Okay, this is the where you're sitting. This is how they sit there. It's in like a little auditorium. The demonstrators be at that lathe right there in the front.
So they check a bowl out. Somebody in the back stands,
Yeah,
like baseball.
yeah. This is the lathes they have for the club. Everybody shows up can work on lathes. There's a whole bunch of them all over. Okay, and it's just really nice. This is if this probably looks kind of familiar to you, it's just like we have a bunch of guys sitting around giving the demonstrator a bunch of grief. You know what I mean? Just exactly the way we do it. They're very similar group. The demonstrator that time, they do an interesting thing when they demonstrate. The guy goes up and starts demonstrating. He doesn't tell you what he's going to make. You sit there and try to guess what's going to happen. So this guy, this time, made a cat. Can I focus it there?
Right.
It's all out of a pine board. They turned out the whole thing was made out of a cat, and the whiskers are like little rubber stringy things you'd find someplace, little short little pieces, and it was finished by him just setting fire to it. Let's see, where can I get it here? I'm having a hard time getting in here, but he set fire to it. Yeah, back on the cat. He set fire to it. Oh, no wonder. Here, let me get this back up. And let's see, I think that was the last one. Oh no. And the guy had, for show and tell, had a piggy bank that he turned out of wood, which I thought was really a nice, interesting little thing. Everything is turned out of wood and put it together, and obviously cut the slot in the top for the money. Okay. And when I got done, they have a very well-known turner. Jerry, you might have heard of him. His name is Terry Scott.
Yeah.
And he's a member of this club. A very friendly guy.
Cousin, candle plants.
Is that right? Yes. He's a very interesting fellow. I didn't actually see any of his turnings, but he came up to me as the meeting was over, handed me this piece of wood. This piece of wood doesn't look like a whole lot, except the tree fell down 12,000 years ago, and it was buried in a bog. And the New Zealanders go around and find these trees that are buried. They dig them up, they saw them up into timber, and use them for all kinds of uses. But here in America, I don't know if you ever tried pricing a piece of ancient kauri. It's pretty expensive here.
They used to.
They give it away there. And kauri is probably the biggest tree that ever grew in New Zealand. They still grow. They're very large. And the English use them a lot for sails and masts and stuff like that. Cut a lot of them down. So they're not as big as they used to be. And that's my show and tell, Dennis. Wow. Turn this in.
Kurt, can you pass that around?
Sure.
They get some cinnamon during the freeze out.
Now that Terry Scott told me to seal this up very good, because our climate is so much drier than New Zealand, the wood just shatters, just dries. New Zealand has real high humidity, very high humidity. And here we're not nearly so high.
All right.
I actually would like to show something. I didn't realize I could do it on my phone. So,
Hey, Kurt.
Sheila Pitts, Urbana. A couple weeks ago, I went to Mark Adams' school, and did a week-long wood turning class. It was fabulous. And actually, I brought some catalogs to look at. And this is, I made several pieces, but this one I really like. So this one that I made, you see, let's see it's just like rounded on the top, rounded on the bottom. But I got home and I thought, what do you do with this? I really don't like this. So I made it into this. So I just hollowed it out more. There. I rounded it out more. So there's kind of a dip in there, but the wood is, I think, so much prettier. I have no idea what the wood is. But as I got closer to the bottom, there were cracks. So I filled them with a blue color, some blue powdery stuff I bought. So I like that. I thought it came out pretty cool. Thanks.
Everybody's getting their phones out.
I'll show you what that piece of that wood looks like. You can see that that's what I had to cut right at the ground level and take it out in pieces like that, little quadrants all the way around it. But that's how I got it out. And here's a piece mounted on the lathe. This is 9-inch diameter. And there you can see that it's mounted on there. I'll be able to core it and get at least 2 bowls out of it before it's done. As I said, that's what this stuff looks like.
Okay, anybody else? No? All right, we'll get this going here. So tonight's big raffle, we will have facial. The facial. This is for the raffle where you buy a ticket later. So I just want everybody to know that. Want to drop it? So Grace. President's Challenge. What's one? You want round is hot. What's your love? That is. Okay. So you feel like that? Would you the store? I don't know. Yes. That was me. All right. One post round. See if everything All right, so let's get the President's Channel panel here. What's going up? 308. Blue ticket. 308. Because of things. Yeah, for what's the goal? Here's what there. That's not it. Yeah, the mask is for later. Yeah. 304. Blue ticket 304.
It's 1, 2. I'm trying to. Freeze the one. Check.
303. You blue ticket 303. In some way, probably if it's blue ticket 309. 309. Just get a little screw set there. Let them know. It was. You always need that. All right, red ticket. First up on the red tickets. 697. What did you say? 697. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah, that much someone else because nobody would believe me if I said. 6. Red ticket. Yeah. Red ticket 695. No. All right, red ticket. 693. Corey, who got it? Who's that? Jerry, what do you got? Yeah, I got That's how I look at it. It's free. 689. Terry? Yes. Get the little bag and what was this?
I don't know, I think it's already gone. From that life, they get that out, which is all. He's 40 years old, so they're not sold out. Sure works. You can tell us tomorrow. You can tell me it's a little bit.
Alright, and last one, 694. Alright.
680 carry already.
698.
Oh, cheers.
Crowbar will have some tickets for the raffle. You got them already? Mike's got them there. I'll get the rest of the raffle stuff out here and big one tonight is the buy night. It's always good to have a good thing. So we'll take a break. And then we'll check up here just a little bit. It is 7 minutes. So take about 10-15 minute break. Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing good.
It's I mean, it's ugly. I'll say your trash can. That's like. Wow, okay. Still, they're still working. So, yeah. So. Here's a lot of fun. How you doing? See you again. When you guys pass. Still not working. Thanks here, that's 16 years. You got home to me there. Girl, and you know, that it's not bad. Yeah, but I actually well, but regularly the line is so I don't think you got much saying much between some people baseball areas go flipping if you adjust. The coat later or get it so they can tell that it's still like you should take it off or I house. First, this four is down the order of the every and I told her that it's done. It's not even that's yeah. So everything's what's it? Well, I think that there's more than hours off. I don't know how it's that's not yeah, it's so it's it's raining. Sorry for the liquor. Right. Yeah. It's like scared.
It's a paid photograph. Right. He might have stepped outside. Well, I'll see him. Unless it's behind the fence. That's fun. That's super ball. Think that's not very. It's that it's cool. 6:30 to 2:30. It's a town. I'm not doing that. City Barnes. Now, Same kind of thought. Yeah, I bet. I tried to do something every Christmas. He's not trying to make something I'm gonna make 20 or 30 of. I just thought at first I wanted to decoration of Christmas gifters. Little so. Hey, can you for get me once that you were the well, and then says, go live alarm. Very so inside out, inside, it's got an outage. The one that not software, now it's drive.
Hey,
It's
yeah. So I started this, I know I say this, but I started this really last week, making a lunch. And then I saw away the main for a funeral, so I didn't get it. So I thought I'd bring it anyway.
It was me.
So I'll bring it when I finish the lamb.
I'll go there when I don't be paying.
Yeah, let's see some.
I'm okay to give me those.
I think yeah.
But you're there, that's fine.
Yeah, I think you may see a trend is. 1 year articles. It's following the plan. To have things, you said, science and. I go for me. Used to. It's really part of music. My private calls are dying. And Saturday, it's 10 o'clock at night. So that's morning, like, happens out. And you don't know. Yeah, I want to get this. I don't know. Yeah. You're right. Right. Yeah. Is there? I'll put the roller over the dollars here. Well, I don't know. Okay. Very good. You sure? Sure. It's all out. Any sugar? Put it right there. Take it off. We don't look at it. That's speaking of gallons. Still with it. Yep. Good. Well, we can eat there. So I'm saying, let's show everybody. This is like the bones. Yeah, you just said already. I know that. Look at this. Problem where that's time. That's right.
Yep. Cool. Excellent. Find your point, right? Yeah, I stuck them in there. I threw them in there, then I threw stuff on top of it, and I just now I'm not going off the wall. I'll probably find them when I tear everything down though. That's fine. And, shouldn't get it out, you know, let's have to take some cues. I don't know, the player can get it's a great, it's very interesting. They're probably having that one else. Again, that is, then use free now. It's $5 first, yeah. Then, yeah, it's, yeah, very good. I manage one, and you spend on the couch or anything, like, so they say, and you know, you know, biggest shades, then they. I know you major analysis, you know, playing that. Because when you guys have stuff, while you know, that's like that, right? So it's SWAT professionals. It shows the sense of relationship like oh, what advantage works, what gives you voice, right? It's something like that, like it's against your that's just a huge lot. Yes. Yeah. Last thing, Darnell, yes, that's what that counts. So I that's the bill I'm yes, for me. Video, you know, it's then you know, on me. Forming in the small rights that would say, but those are the you know, you figure more. Yes, it's still exactly. You run the arguments like the rest of the you really is what is between seven and a single six where there's what saying that it will let's put this way. What's that? It's wrapped in and so she's not okay. I think it's so curious. Even this thing is really well, right here. Police like I was not sure how she was good. Still, she'll take it. Stuff it's happening, but so so I don't need to caution. I was not brief. I was in the Still speaking Spanish. First of all, they're pretty much just like words.
It's and yeah. Here's what probably all to do on Zinder stuff with this
Yeah.
thing kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm already. That's one of the reasons why I lost my favorite lady and haven't done anything with my son. So, a good try. Especially dinner. Continue.
I don't do a ton of like stuff with skews, and it also gives like the right thing for this. It'll be pretty skew work.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
So, I'm right away. This is the student more than nothing. No,
I don't know if I don't think I have a sharp one.
that's the problem. It's gotta be, and then it's the only tool that actually got it.
That was
So I'll phone it.
okay.
All of the system is great. Then that's all. It's funny. It's not razor sharp.
The skew I have like hand me down. I passed, so I haven't tried this.
Wait, you need to
I'll laugh.
before I do the demo in a couple minutes. Two. All right. Science stuff. So now it's time stuff. It's really nice. Yeah, I'm gonna put it like. No, I know, I know. It's a river, please, slivering. So it's a great job. It's a fish break, like everything. We should stay long, really gone long. About 6 minutes, 6 hours, and I believe it. It's not good. One of these, not as you know. It's a flying. It's pretty. It's pretty fun. This is truly great. I'm guessing you're not or so you're just like it. Take your time to go there. Well, another time. There's going to see you get back. My favorite. Big reps, why not? If I see that. Right. Stop up. Frightening is such a big deal. It's body also. Finish something. Next, you definitely go on to a gift. I didn't want to go here for 2 days. Here for well, not a person where the state rest. Legend. Should we pass? Well, you gotta do it up. Yeah. Is that it's sure. So we have. All right, we're saying. Job on there.
Yeah, I haven't yet. Yeah, I just
Start hatching up.
I am Thor.
Then, usually get down. Stupid.
Fall out lightning.
Never usually just go.
I'd say you're making it.
Physical age.
That's very smooth on the end.
Because they take what else they're passing. And here, yeah, here, go, saying all that. Like, not trying to do that, it's people against the personal program. So, of course, so, Spain wants to do this. I do plan on TV, yeah, and it's not, because they have it. That requires just sort of thing. Winter 2020. I'm gonna head off. Take it easy. So, see you guys in a month. Of course, they still got their things. Resurrection. Yeah. I'm walking outside. Talk about that. Okay. Well, then I'll just leave it. I'll just say. You can take it with you if I'm trying to say something, we're gonna do it. Why don't we do it? We check out the shows we want, all right. So, she lives over here for. So. Yeah.
Like, that way, I actually see it was good.
Plan on it being the annual state. Yeah. So, state. Yeah, it's self funded. Speak there. I'll see you. I keep it on Yep. Self. Like,
Not familiar with that part.
put that on. Well, I'm from here. This is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to make sure that if I keep this thing on playing, that I can get that one in. Because I can still make this a little thinner to make that space a little bigger. But once I got it in once, I'm like, I'm not going anymore because it starts getting more and more nervous again. So I didn't go really one more pass. I got so it's good there. Yeah, but no, it's a bit of a puzzle. I don't want to try to fool anyone that they feel like the same as fools because that feels disingenuous. But I do like the fact that that's a lot bigger than the hole that it comes from, and so without seeing it snuck in there, you might have that odd. It's how did it that. Yeah, all of it. Yeah. Yep, pretty accurate line. I don't think I know that 4 inch. I don't think so. No. And I was when I said that or mentioned when I was trying to think if you could even use it. And I don't know, like the make flexible play and then you have another and it would be a pretty niche tool that's not very useful. Other things is everything. You're like getting the camera, that's large. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's just real. Like, like working about it. It's fun. Got everybody? Like one mention, like, Chris, take off. Chris? Chris, let's take off on it. But, we're gonna put this into the, club tools. So if you wanna use this, we'll write it down on the book over here that we have for, the books and all that. Take it home, bring it back. Yeah, take it home, bring it back, and.
But it will only work on a 20-inch swing.
that right?
It's set up for 18 right now,
18.
but it can be moved up to the holes up
Part
there
of
will
it
be
is
20.
and 20 on the back of it to line up the hole. It's on the back of it. There's a 18 mark and a 20-inch mark. And as long as your gap is the width of the on the bottom here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Chris took off. I think he's wanting to use it. So if anybody wants to use this knife, or you up and down. Mine, that one coming upright post. I've got like a J post, I guess, black and red worth. So it's 2 inches thick at the bottom and it stays 2 inches long.
Maybe with it on?
Yeah. And then everything flies in and out, so you listen. Yeah. So we ready to go, Chuck?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead and get started here. Let me, I guess the camera's turned around here.
No, I won't be here today, but I wish you guys to have a nice day.
Heading to Norway. All right, everybody, we'll go ahead and get started. Chuck Cowger will be, oh, yeah. Thank you. I was jumping right into the.
Everybody waiting on it.
Raffle tickets. Don't forget, this is a freebie tool, so if anybody wants it, do it. Have it. Paul's still here. I don't know. Well, Paul's in back there. You can tell about that piece of wood. Yeah, this piece of wood. Yeah, Paul, let's talk about it first.
That is a piece of wood that I got from Dave Brewer. Dave worked for Ameren. And that come out of some kind of a big transformer down in southern Illinois somewhere. Said it'd been in oil. It's an oil bath type switch or something in it. I didn't understand where it all come out, but he said it's been in oil since like the 1930s. It's laminated and
It's got some weight to it.
That's so out measure. I don't know, but he told me it did not have any PCPs in it. I can't do it. In the 1930s, in the 1930s,
If you turn something out, then where the air filtration pass? Maybe that up when the blood shouldn't lose weight. I don't know. All I know is there, I think.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago. Now, first ticket, 2001. Right here. Certainly,
Yes, yeah.
thanks for the follow the very nice piece. Yeah, which was we did the perfect. There goes the last. 1993. 1993.
I didn't rub them, Kurt.
It's a brother me.
Repeat shot.
Trouble up with him.
Good check. There goes that. 1990. Getting in the 90s kids here.
That's all. That was.
All right, 2007. 2007. Well, maybe two.
There's a nice color piece there, Michael.
I see that.
Thank you.
That's our cool one, all right. Yeah, that's like a that's one. 1978. 1978.
Oh, someone took the wood. No.
It's on.
It's a spectrum ply. 2,000. 2,000.
Jerry.
Jerry, there's a nice piece of spectrum ply out there, Jerry.
You will? Well, I don't care. Well, I got look at your chest to your
1992.
great name here. Well, okay.
All pass. Pass, all right.
I can't, that's nice, you should know. It's
1973.
I'll take the,
Big what?
other spectrum.
The other picture?
Cheese thing? Yes. Toss that.
Alright.
Oh,
1986.
what's that? What's your one? Maybe some. Sure.
Really long screwdrivers. Alright, so we got a light, a little tape measure left. 1994. Or, oh, Sam, yeah, the early 90s there, didn't you? 2008. Who's got 2008? Me. Pat?
Yeah.
Alright, we're getting our 2 passes. 3 passes, how many we had? No more passes. 1976. Lori, is that one of yours? You got a tape measure and a light.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Take a look.
1988. We were our last one.
Gary. What great.
Mine. What it say? Oh. Gary?
Sorry, me.
Alright.
Yes.
Alright, thank you, everybody. Well, now we'll get on with Chuck. And is this true? What is this?
That's fine.
That's your okay. I'm missing a water. So Chuck Cowger, I'm just doing inside out turning.
Yeah. Welcome to the most fun you can have on the third Tuesday of every month. The Flatland Woodturners. I'm going to start out with kind of an overall, and I realize most of you already know this, but I'm going to do it anyway. First of all is simply cutting your blanks and get them as squared up as possible. When I do this, I like to, every Christmas, I try to do some kind of a gift I can give to do 25, 30, 35 different things for the gifts. So this layout here is related to the process I'm in to get to about 30 of these inside-outside turnings. And when I cut these up, then I cut a whole lot of them at a time. So then I just tape them together so that I can keep track of them. I'll have to batch them up at a later time. I'll make this clean release is made by Duck brand, but clean release tape is really pretty good for stuff like that or like this, because it doesn't leave anything on the wood when you're done. You can buy it, I think, at most big box stores. So the idea is that you have 4 such blanks, and you're going to first turn the inside. So that means you have to attach them to themselves temporarily so you can take them apart and turn them around. So every one, like this outside edge, will be the next inside edge.
So after you turn them then, so this is turned like this, so I'm turning the inside first, and then turn them around. And glue them up like this to turn the outside. Now, one of the things that you see on YouTube a lot is people complaining about all the gluing you have to do. To glue them up, take them apart. If you glue them up, you can glue them all at once. If you do, you need 8 clamps. And you have to be pretty careful because they slide around on you a lot. So I found that I glue them up, put them together, let them sit for about 5 minutes, then they don't slide quite as easily. And then if you're going to glue the first stage, you have 3 choices. One is just glue things on the end of all of them, all the way around. And when you get it all glued together and you're ready to turn it inside out, you just cut off the ends. But then you wasted quite a bit of wood. You see people do that on YouTube often because that's easy. Or really popular on YouTube is they take a small paper bag, glue one side of it, press it down on each of the each of the 4 blanks, and then put glue on top of those, and then put them together. And that comes apart a lot easier if you have that paper bag. I haven't done that, so I don't know how well that works. After I'd done quite a few, of which I did like this. Like this part itself. And you don't have to glue them real tight. If you glue them too tight, you squeeze a lot of the glue out. And I found stuff on YouTube where people actually after they make their blanks, they rough them up, make sure if it's too smooth, by then they go back and rough them up with about 80 or 100 sandpaper, so because it'll stick together. This is one that I simply glued up as you saw, and I did it across the ends, no paper, etc. And ultimately then, after this is done, I typically start a hole like this, wiggle it around a little bit. Then I'm not going to do that now. I guess I could. Then I put a bit in and I cut it in just a little bit. So you put it right on your lathe and tighten it down and you have it centered. But I don't glue if I can help. Certainly not the first stage. So I made a jig, and as you can see here, it's just a rather simple jig. And as you can see, I've got it marked off. So I can do anything up to of the blanks being 1 3/4 inch. So I can do something like this still on it, or even like this. I was planning on having this done tonight, but I got pulled out of town, out of state
for 4 days for a funeral. So tonight I was trying to scramble since I just got back this morning. So I didn't get my lamp done, but I'll bring it next month. Um, the and the way with this jig, I line everything up. Yes. Yeah. And I had to have it lined up also, as you can see my line here, which then I line with.
Purpose of the jig?
You don't have to glue. No gluing. And then I simply put it in a chuck. And I use little pieces of rubber in here. And I'm ready to turn. Put it on and I'm ready to turn. Then I have no gluing, no taking it apart later or anything at this stage. So then after that's turned, it comes out and it looks something like this.
Do you number your pieces?
I do. I some of these little ones I don't, but like when I was making this, I was drawing it ahead of time and I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted it. When you're turning on the inside, you don't know what's going to look when you turn it around. So I could take it apart then, and if I have them numbered, then I can put them back together, take them apart, turn them around, see what I've got, and then turn them around again, put them back in the chuck, and do something else. Like for example, when I did this, I just did these, and all of a sudden I thought, oh look at that, that looks like an apple. I didn't plan it. If I put a stem in there, it'll look like an apple. So I took it apart so I could put that, and then I put one on both ends actually. Um, and well, in any case, if you glue it up, you can never take it open again and then redo it. So it comes out like this one. Let's think about this coming out like this.
Then you have to make other decisions like I took this all the way to the edge. That means when they're turned around, there's no opening on the inside. It'd be like this. There's no opening on the inside going between. If I cut off to knock these edges off, then you'll have a hole in the middle, like this goes all the way from top to bottom. And some of these others do as well, like this one. Like this one would not. It would be like this. In other words, there's no hole between these two compartments. The next choice you have to make is how deep do you want to turn? If you're going to turn it totally round at the end, you can't go over a ½ inch deeper than the block itself. So if you have an inch block, you can't go in deeper than a ½ inch. And the reason being, when you get done, you can't, for example, you can see that I couldn't turn this all the way around because I went too deep. And if I had to make this round, I would cut right through it. So this one I wanted to make deeper, so that I could have this vacancy or this opening in here, as well as I decided I wanted to try some that were flat and see what they would look like, or how they would come out. After while I still had this on the lathe, or I had it in here, I finished it. This is cherry. And one thing I found out over time, that all of a sudden I had it in my kitchen and I had all the lights on. And I guess it was this piece. And in this piece, I put wipe on poly, I think 3 coats, and sanded with 600 in between each coat. And then I used a gloss wipe on poly. And I thought for some reason I wanted a matte on the outside. So I did a matte on the outside. And now if you put a gloss on the inside, it draws your attention to the inside. And especially if you have a matte on the outside. So that's what I planned for this, which I have a gloss on the inside, but I'll put on a poly on the outside. Yes.
We're going to use your jig.
Yeah. Yeah. I turn that on the jig. Yeah. Okay.
Did you
Now, in terms of measuring how deep you are, how deep you've gone, I just cut a little piece, and this is my dad's old slide ruler, and I just put it on here and pull it back, and there it's 5/8. And this you can I just cut on my bandsaw so there's friction there. So then I can just put that in, pull it out, and keep measuring how deep I am, to make sure I don't go too deep, and yet I want to go deep enough. Actually, I was thinking, as I was putting this on here, I am going to knock those off. I'm going to put this back in the jig, and I'm going to knock those off so that there's space between the two sections. When I started out, I was gonna make Christmas decorations because, or Christmas tree decorations, because I saw them on a YouTube. And I started out making things this size. I've given all of them away so far, except this one, which I haven't finished. And then suddenly they just kept getting bigger. uh, and now I'm sort of limited how big they can get because I can't get anything bigger than this in my jig unless I make another jig. But one of the nice things about it is I can go out there if I have my blanks already cut. I can go out and cut the insides um, and sand it, and then do my first one, and then have to decide whether I want to do the wipe on poly on the lathe, or whether I want to do it by hand with each of my blocks when I take them apart. But I can do 4 or 5 in an evening. Since I don't have to, I can do them ready for outside turning in an evening. If I don't, if I use the jig. Okay. Now, also, after I've turned the inside like this one, and I take them and put them back on the outside, if I knock this edge off, I discovered, I can use hose clamps to glue it really quick without eight clamps like I showed you when I came in. So I'm going to do just one of those. So I have a little jig I use with my bandsaw, and I put it in and just knock off the edges. You got to make sure. I have one here. I knocked off the inside edge, so then I had a hole all the way through, and I had to fill it before I could put it back on the ledge. But you got to make sure you got the inside out, etc. So then, and I'm going to do this really quick. I'm going to do it with my finger and show you. And also, I don't use brushes. I probably should. I see some of the demonstrations, people always use brushes when they do demonstrate. I just use my finger. I learned how to do that. I mean, I started doing that before I knew much of anything. When I grew up, I mean, I got a little too much on this. And I like that to sit just a little bit. So I want to be a little bit slippery, but not a lot. And once in a while I'm doing this, and then I discover that one side I put the glue on the wrong side. And I get them all in there. And then try to make sure this was not quite. And then I'm ready to tighten it down. What'd I tell you? I got some upside down. That's not the first time that's happened. There it is. So I don't have to fool with balancing eight clamps, etc. And then it'll be ready to turn. Um, once you come out with something like this, then you have choices as to whether you want to do an outside turn equivalent to your inside turn. Or whether you want to have just a straight, flat place. Like here, I came in and I followed the curved on the outside. So there's all kinds of different ways you can do that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's pretty well the show. Be willing to have, just to say, be willing to have you tell me your things that you found that were clever and fun when you've done this. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's done it, but it's fun. Go ahead.
I was wondering, with the English and the planting, have you ever just used like a hot glue on the top of it? So that you could break that or?
No, I haven't. No, actually, after you've done this is the one I just took apart. I use a chisel, make sure I get it in the crack, and then you're pretty well okay. On YouTube, I see people who use paper. They use a putty knife. That's all they need. I've tried putty knife when I didn't use paper. It didn't go very well. So
Would you have glue and all? Just glue the two off?
yeah, you probably could. I just always, I don't know.
But like I said, he's on the one, I'll do a version of the Virginia scramble on it. And so I'll mark it with a square.
Yeah,
Offset. And so start the very small on, small circle when you start.
uh-huh.
Together, you got all your marks, the facing the right way, going in on one side, and then all the marks are now facing.
On the outside.
My mind, that's helped me tremendously.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'd had that and paid attention, I wouldn't have put that one piece upside down. Yeah.
You're doing all right.
Absolutely.
Cool. So that is the challenge for next one. Inside out. We won't be here. Who's supposed to do the inside out of the captain ring?
For now.
And so it's 200.
That I use it as a. So, yeah.
You're this small, and you also use your jig.
No, I just did that.
You ever better? This is cool.
Yeah, I just that's the first. That's like the second thing I ever did. So I hadn't even thought about a jig yet, and then I